I'm sure we have seen lockdowns. I'm sure we have seen a demonetization. We have seen recession. We have seen companies laying off people in today's time.
So apart from Tatas and Ambanis, of
Yeah.
course they are some of the richest family businesses in India. Who else do you think is running successfully but has not made it to the list?
I think Tata, Birla, and Ambani are world famous, not just in one industry, exclusively, but they are into multi businesses as such. But being from Bangalore, I think the three M brothers. When I'm talking about three M brothers, it's about the MTR family, right? These three brothers, the business that they established about 100 years ago.
Oh,
Okay, so they have a very prominent share of mind and share of heart in the hearts of Bengaloreans and the world, of course. Why? Because they come from a very small town in Udupi, way back in 1920s. Can you imagine in 1920s when we were under the British Raj, we were not educationally forward. We were ruled as slaves, right? So imagine at that time, three brothers, the Maya brothers. I call them 3M brothers, right? So the Maya brothers came from a very small town from Udupi looking for job. They reached Bangalore and they started working as cooks.
uh-huh.
And today the brand is more than 10,000 crore worth.
Oh. Which brand is that?
This is the story of MTR. MTR stands for Mavali Tiffin Rooms, a very very famous. If I could term them, they would be called as the idli dosa capital of Namma Bengaluru, right? So these were the guys who were giving Bengaloreans the best of idlis, coffees, and dosas, and they are very very famous worldwide.
Okay. So did they started out as Marvelly Tiffin Rooms, or how is the beginning?
Yeah, so the beginning goes around with one of the brothers who were working with the top rich guys during that time. They were working as cooks, right? As I told you. And over a period of 2 to 3 years, one of their employees was so fascinated by their cooking, and he suggested that, like imagine you and I cook something nice, and our family motivates and tells us, right? Why don't you start something on your own? So that really triggered one of the brothers to start a coffee and an idli joint. Earlier it was called as the Bangalore Coffee Club or the Brahmins Coffee Club, right? So the Brahmins Coffee Club was started in a very small suburb area in Mavali towards central Bangalore at that time. Over a period of about 2 to 3 years, it grew prominence. The taste and the customers were very very happy with the quality of food that the Brahmins were serving, and they moved out to a very distinctive location towards Lal Bagh. Lal Bagh is a prominent hangout place for Bangaloreans where they spend a lot of time walking. So they reached there and they opened the very first restaurant serving authentic Kannadiga, South Indian, Udupi style breakfast. It was called the Mavali Tiffin Room, and hence the name MTR came into prominence. Way back in 1927, if I'm not wrong.
So uh, let's keep 1927 as their establishment
Yeah,
period.
yeah, it is.
So 1927 to 2022, it's like a century gap over there.
Almost.
So how are they still surviving in the market?
If you ask me, the thing that is taking them ahead is the strong ethics that the founders have set base to. So if you look at Tatas, Ambanis, and Birlas, they all have multiple business models. They are into steel, they are into real estate, they are into groceries, they are into retail, they are into automobile. But MTR stood their ground into foods. They never deviated from that food business. So they have got more than 97, 98, 100 years of experience or expertise in serving you the best quality of idlis, dosas, and coffees. Right? So the ground reality is that they stuck to their basics right from the three generations. Though they have family dispute, MTR is now moved into MTR Foods is a different sector, MTR Restaurant is a different sector, and Maya's Foods is a different sector. So that brand has moved into three different verticals. MTR Foods was again sold to a brand, a Norwegian brand called as Orkla, because of the dispute between the family for the trademark and the rights. But nevertheless, they got into the packaging food business also. So they didn't stop at selling idlis and dosas to Bengaloris. They gradually moved into packaged food way back in the early 70s. That is after independence. Why? Because during the time when India was going through a turmoil of emergency was declared by the Indira Gandhi government, the food prices were slashed and people could not afford expensive food items. But MTR, the Mawali Tiffin Room, was very very famous in serving high quality, good quality at a very prominently high price item. So imagine in the 70s, the idli would cost you 1 rupee and 20 paise. You get my point? But government wanted that to be priced at 25 or 30 paise, right? So at that time they could have resisted and said that yeah, no problem, we are going to support the government and we're going to cut down on our quality and pricing and so on and so forth. But MTR stood by their ethics. They said that if we reduce the price, we are going to reduce the quality, and we are not ready to compromise on our quality. So they chose to shut down the shop instead of reducing the prices and giving low quality food to the customers. That is something that we have to learn. I'm sure we have seen lockdowns. I'm sure we have seen a demonetization. We have seen recessions. We have seen companies laying off people in today's time. But learn from Mawali Tiffin Rooms. Way back in their 70s, they ensured that they would pay their employees full salary. They would give them the regular wages in spite of their shop being shut. How? They innovated a concept of packaged food. So they bought the rasams, they bought the masalas and chutneys, and they started packing and selling it over the counter. That is how innovatively they survived the lockdown and other situations.
So while talking about innovation, if I'm not wrong, MTR was the first eatery to introduce the concept of Rava Idli.
Oh yeah, because during they survived World War II, they survived a lot of political environment changes. They survived the independence. They survived the British Raj, because Bangalore was a cantonment state, right? I mean, this was a place where most of the Britishers would come down and relax, and you still have 70% of the Bangalore still under cantonment zone, right? So the reason that they came up with this concept is, see, innovation is the only way that any business can survive. There are two things, right? One is that you succumb to that challenges, or you innovate and you come back with a bang. So the concept of Rava Idli is also amazing. So what happened was when the price of raw materials, rice and everything else was going high, and there was also shortage because of the emergency and the World War issues. So what did the owners of MTR do? They created an idli, which is the most favored South Indian breakfast item. They tried to use rava as a raw material instead of rice. Rava was easily available than rice, because rice consumption is anyway 7 times more than the rava consumption, right? So they created a beautiful out of difficult times, innovation comes out.
So it was really nice, learning about the innovation of Rava Idli. But how are they keeping up with the dynamic environment over here? I can see brands changing themselves, the entire dynamics.
Yeah.
Like McDonald's has a different choice of meat in India.
Yeah.
It exclusively sells chicken and vegetarian options.
Yes.
So how is MTR keeping up with the demand, and how is it keeping up with the market? How is it doing?
Yeah, so for every business, the reason that McDonald's and KFCs have been so successfully spread across the world is because one is the innovation aspect, and the number two is consistency. They ensured that the recipes and the quality of making such food items remains consistent across the world. But MTR, the USP, the unique selling point for the MTR was that they never deviated from their core skills. The core USP was to sell South Indian authentic breakfast meals. They introduced many more items along with it too. So apart from serving it in the restaurant, they said that if you cannot go to a restaurant, if you can't go to an MTR will come to your house. That was the concept that the second generation, third generation leaders of the Mavali brothers came into the prominence, and then they came up into packaged food items. So they start packaging, rava dosa mix. They started, idli batter. They started the rava batter. They started making rasam powder mix. So they started puliogre mix. All these are predominantly very, very tasty breakfast items in South India. So the packaged food became a prominent. Why? Because during the 80s and the 90s, after the LPG, the liberalization and the openness of how businesses could happen in the early 90s, they were also catering to people who were traveling outside and living outside India. That is where the innovation comes into place, and that is where MTR still is able to survive the ups and downs of business.
So, okay. Uh, for now, I think from 1927 to 2022, there are a lot of changes, education-wise, generation-wise.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of changes. How does MTR? How does it have the same recipe it had 100 years back? I mean, of course, the founding fathers or the workers who were alive back then are no longer, I believe, are no longer here. So how are they maintaining that same quality, quantity? How are they, coping up with this?
The beauty of this business, Noor, is that I was just going through some research reports about how Mayas came into prominence. Every new person who joins the business, say for example, if it is my dad's business, I would like to be the boss. I would not understand the ground reality of it. But at Mayas or the MTR family, what happens here is every person who joins the business has to get into the kitchen first, has to feel the heat, has to go through a 2 years of training of to how to mix masalas, how to make dosas, how to make idli batter and so on. They need to dirty their hands, sweat it out in the kitchen. If they don't do that, you will be surprised to know that the Sadanand Maya, who is the second generation head of the Maya's food, which is the third division of MTR family, he was under the head chef, the chef who was his father's most senior chef of his family. The chef used to have a stick. That means to say the servant or your employee is holding a stick and teaching the owner how to make dosas and idlis and batter. Now imagine if that happens in today's generation, you would not like it. But that's the kind of discipline that these people had in terms of becoming more customer focused, because they believe that if I don't understand how the idli or the dosa or the sambar or the chutney is made ground level pe, my business will not grow. So that down to earthness, on that kind of dedication to learn your core business skills is the secret success of MTR's growth.
I'm fascinated to learn about how MTR is still working and
Great.
Keeping up with its ancestral stuff.
Legacy, it is a legacy for sure, yes.
So, what are the lessons we as a youth can learn from this sort of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs that can adapt from, Mayas and put it in their daily life?
I think most of us, be it technical, be it any kind of business, there's always a lesson that we can definitely take away. Number one lesson is that continue the legacy. If you have been blessed with education, if you have been blessed with your family fortune, do not let go of the legacy that your forefathers have created for you, because that's the kind of goodwill that people will remember. Like for example, the Tatas. So Tata's legacy will continue for 100 years. Even if the core guys are not part of the Tata group, still the legacy of Tata brand will continue at least for next century. Same thing with the Reliance, same thing with the Ambani, same thing with the Birlas and so on and so forth. Number one is, if you have been setting up a brand or if you have to set up a legacy, continue with it. Not just at the top level, but from the ground level. Number one lesson. Number two lesson, innovate, but don't deviate. When I say innovate and don't deviate, MTR is a standalone company in my perspective, that they stuck to their core industry, which is food. They could have gone into real estate. They could have gone into some other industrialization. They would have gone into something else. But they innovated from idli dosa serving at their hotel to packaging it and reaching out to customers throughout the world. Now they are available in Dubai. They are available in US market. They are available in Singapore. They are available in hundreds of other locations across India. Why? Because they are stuck with their core values. So the innovation aspect is also very, very important. That is the lesson that we need to take. Number two. Number three, irrespective of the problems that the family businesses will come into. Like for example, you have the first generation who started a business. Now their sons and their children wanted to deviate and they also wanted to share a pie. So it is better to share your core skills and deviate from your businesses. Take it separately, but at the same time continue with your vertical. So in spite of MTR having sold their stake to a foreign company, which is Ortha, which I mentioned to you, the Mayas, after a 5-year deal, they got into the business and now they're also giving a good competitive edge by coming up with their packaged food items, ready to eat food items. Now they're also uniquely coming up with the concept of serving bhel puri in the form of a bar. You get my point? So this is how advanced the food industry is taken up and they are adapting to the technology. So I think these are the key lessons that you and I can definitely learn from brand MTR.
Thank you so much, Professor KK. It was a delight.
Yes, absolutely, Noor. Thank you so much, and I hope that we build legacies for generations to come. All the best. Take care. Bye.